tall as he was. The picture had been taken the summer before on Long Island. They'd spent the day sailing. Then they'd had a barbecue on the beach. It had been one of the few happy days they'd ever spent together. The door opened, and his secretary came in. Helen Bosworth was English. She had left her home, and indeed her husband, to come and work in New York, and still loved every minute of it. She'd been working in this office for 11 years, and in all that time she had never forgotten a detail or made a mistake. "Good morning, Mr. Roscoe," she said. "Good morning, Helen." She put a folder on his desk. "The latest figures from Singapore. Costings on the R-15 organizer. You have lunch with Senator Andrews at 12:30. I've booked the Ivy."
"Did you remember to call London?"
Roscoe asked. Helen Bosworth blinked. She never forgot anything, so why had he asked? "I spoke to Alan Blunt's office yesterday afternoon," she said. Afternoon in New York would have been evening in London. "Mr. Blunt was not available, but I've arranged a person-to-person call with you this afternoon. We can have it patched through to your car."
"Thank you, Helen."
"Shall I have your coffee sent in to you?"
"No, thank you, Helen. I won't have coffee today."
Helen Bosworth left the room, seriously alarmed. No coffee? What next? Mr. Roscoe had begun his day with a double espresso for as long as she had known him. Could it be that he was ill? He certainly hadn't been himself recently, not since Paul had returned home from that school in the south of France. And this phone call to Alan Blunt in London. Nobody had ever told her who he was, but she'd seen his name once in a file. He had something to do with military intelligence, MI6. What was Mr. Roscoe doing talking to a spy? Helen Bosworth returned to her office and soothed her nerves, not with coffee, she couldn't stand the stuff, but with the refreshing cup of English breakfast tea. Something very strange was going on, and she didn't like it. She didn't like it at all. Meanwhile, 60 floors below, a man had walked into the lobby area wearing grey overalls with an ID badge attached to his chest. The badge identified him as Sam Green, maintenance engineer with Express Elevators Incorporated. He was carrying a briefcase in one hand and a large silver toolbox in the other. He set them both down in front of the reception desk. Sam Green was not his real name. His hair, black and a little greasy, was fake, as were his glasses, moustache, and uneven teeth. He looked 50 years old, but he was actually closer to 30. Nobody knew the man's real name, but in the business that he was in, a name was the last thing he could afford. He was known merely as the Gentleman, and he was one of the highest-paid and most successful contract killers in the world. He'd been given his nickname because he always sent flowers to the families of his victims. The lobby guard glanced at him.
"I'm here for the elevator,"
he said. He spoke with a Bronx accent, even though he'd never spent more than a week there in his life.
"What about it?"
the guard asked.
"You people were here last week."
"Yeah, sure. We found a defective cable on elevator 12. It had to be replaced, but we didn't have the parts, so they sent me back."
The gentleman fished in his pocket and pulled out a crumpled sheet of paper.
"You want to call the head office? I've got my orders here."
If the guard had called Express Elevators Incorporated, he would have discovered that they did indeed employ a Sam Green, although he hadn't shown up for work in 2 days. This was because the real Sam Green was at the bottom of the Hudson River with a knife in his back and a 20-pound block of concrete attached to his foot. But the guard didn't make the call. The gentleman had guessed he wouldn't bother. After all, the elevators were always breaking down. There were engineers in and out all the time. What difference would one more make? The guard jerked a thumb. "Go ahead," he said. The gentleman put away the letter, picked up his cases, and went over to the elevators. There were a dozen servicing the skyscraper, plus a 13th for Michael J. Roscoe. Elevator number 12 was at the end. As he went in, a delivery boy with a parcel tried to follow.
"Sorry,"
the gentleman said.
"Closed for maintenance."
The doors slid shut. He was on his own. He pressed the button for the 61st floor. He'd been given this job only a week before. He'd had to work fast, killing the real maintenance engineer.